ThaBoxingvoice.com, live here with trainer Ben Davison, trainer of multiple people, Josh Taylor, Undisputed, and obviously Devin Haney going into battle Saturday night. I spoke with one of the other team members, both Bill Haney and Mickey Bay. They seem very confident. They're saying we're going to see something we've never seen. What are you seeing from Devin?
I think it depends on what JoJo brings. I think obviously it's no secret that he's going to look to try and set a high tempo, but we're talking about it, so we're prepared for that. But we're also prepared for if he looks to be patient, because I believe if he does look to set a higher tempo, he'll be running into things that he knows that he can't continue to keep running into, and therefore the tempo may come down. He may end up being a little bit more patient. If that's the case, we're prepared for that as well.
Ben, you look like the guy, well, not look, but you sound like a trainer that would have never given the instruction to go in there after a first-round knockout, which is what T.O. went for. And I'm just gathering that from obviously your fight with Fury. You told him to relax. Here you're saying Devin needs to relax. What do you think about Saturday's performance?
Yeah, I don't think I'll get labelled as a defensive coach, but really out of the last 9 title fights, all have been won and 7 by knockout. So it's just because defense is so rarely something that's taught, discussed, coached, worked on. However, defense can lead into offense and vice versa. Offense can lead into defense. So, of course, the difference is that you have to be respectful of, of the opponent and the opponent's abilities. You can't. Exactly that. Teofimo went in there trying to set a high tempo, rushed his work, and ended up running into something against someone that wasn't considered a puncher. So exactly the same. JoJo tries to set a pace too high, he will run into something that deep down he'll know he can't continue to keep taking. I just think that the most important thing is being humble in preparation, respecting the opponent's abilities, but confident in action when it comes to fighting.
So with JoJo, I think that his highest rate for success would be kind of like what Canelo did to Plant. Mix that in, with how he fought Tevin Farmer, which means closing the distance. Do you think he has any other way of getting the win or gaining success?
World title challenger, former world title challenger.
I wouldn't say success, because I believe that we're prepared for whatever. If he looks to engage in his lead hand and have a bit of a chess match with Devin, Devin's prepared for that. I don't think he'll feel that that's the best way to go about it, but again, if he looks to come forward, high volume, set a high tempo, we're prepared for that. 126-pound Lee Wood went against the fighter with the highest punch record in history, Kanzu, one of my fighters. All of a sudden his punch output wasn't the same. 12th round knockout victory for my man. We know how to control those guys, and if that's what JoJo looks to do, we know how to control it.
Well, specifically in that Canelo Plant fight, you've seen Canelo going, targeting the backside, the hip, to slow down the more agile fighter. And seems like JoJo does that in that Tevin Farmer fight and in the Rockamore fight. Is that something you picked up on? And obviously, I know you're going to say you have something prepared for that, but is that something you expect to, reveal itself in this fight?
No, because we won't end up in that situation. One of the key differences in that is Canelo was the physically bigger, stronger guy. Maybe not bigger in it frame-wise, but he was the more physical guy. Plant was wary of him. Devin's a big lightweight. He's a big guy for a lightweight. JoJo's a smaller guy. So even when it comes up close, there's nothing to suggest that JoJo will be stronger. But also, big fan of Caleb Plant, but that situation was due to a bit of a lack of varied forms of defense. However, as I said, Devin's prepared and he's got varied forms of defense in his locker.
Please welcome Mark.
How did you, interpret, receive the Linares punch that Devin took? I look at it like he's got a solid chin. Linares put down Campbell and Loma. Devin took the shot. Other people think he might be chinny because of how he reacted to the shot and after the shot. What were your thoughts as the trainer?
One thing Devin, I think, is a key component of his success is that he doesn't play down the opponent. He said to me before the fight, he said to me since, like, if he's in the ring with someone or a sparring partner, he'll say, oh, do you know what, he won a round off me sparring, or he gave me good work, or he touched me up that day, or whatever. He's honest, and he said to me before the fight, when I sparred Lanara, is every punch like he carries power, which we already know that. He landed a good shot, part and parcel of the game. It was something that we'd discussed, a scenario that we'd discussed before the fight, but it's part of experience, and if that is to ever happen again in this situation, I'm sure he'll be slightly more composed and be a little bit more comfortable with the situation because he's been there, seen it and done it.
Kambosos was a plus 1100 going into that fight. JoJo's a plus 1200 to get a stoppage. Obviously the bookies are supposed to know more than us, but they got it wrong last week. How dangerous of an opponent is JoJo Diaz, in your opinion?
I think it depends on how well Devin goes about his job. I feel like if Devin gets it right and goes about it the right way, this is a potential showcase performance, like a real blow people away type performance. Goes about it the wrong way, it becomes a tough fight. Like I said, humble in preparation. I respect JoJo Diaz and JoJo Diaz's capabilities. So the key component is Devin. He is the better fighter, but he has to get it right.
Is it casual or a casual mindset to think that because JoJo started at 122, the probability of Devin getting a stoppage is higher? Or you think, fighters can acclimate and become full-blown whatever division they're fighting at?
Roy Jones went up to heavyweight. Canelo started off at 154, went up to, going up to cruiserweight now. Like,
technically he started at 140.
Manny Pacquiao, he did, yeah. Manny Pacquiao got stopped very early on in his career, and went up and was blowing away like middleweights and welterweights. So, no, it doesn't mean too much. Like I said, it's very, very important that you're humble in your preparation and respect your opponent. JoJo Diaz has earned his right to be here.
So Ben, I've asked both other trainers, Father and Nicky Bay, if they feel a little weird, because I would assume Devin is eventually going to move up to 40. You have this undisputed champ, and now you're getting like this close, intimate look into Devin. Are you just going to assure that fight never happens?
Yeah, that fight's not going to happen. They're both part of the same team. I work with Josh, I work with Devin, so that fight doesn't need to and won't end up crossing paths.
They seem to think, Nicky Bay specifically, that Josh will always be a division or two above because he's such a big guy. How far do you see him going up, and where do you think he levels out, Josh Taylor?
Josh's perfect career weight is 140. He makes it very comfortably. To be honest with you, he could probably make lightweight at a push, but it's not something that we'd do because it probably may take something out of him, but he makes 140 comfortably. However, the natural progression when you become undisputed is can I step it up a weight with the bigger guys and become a two-weight world champion. That's a goal of Josh's, so that's something he'll be looking to do. Obviously, you have to see how the landscape lies. Initially, we thought Crawford with a top-ranked situation, it might be a case of that fight's a possibility. However, we know that Crawford's looking to unify, and hopefully he wants to become the undisputed at 147. So obviously he's parted ways with Top Rank, so that fight obviously looks a lot less likely now. But we just have to play it by ear. But as I said, humble in your preparation and respect your opponent. We've got Jack Catchwood to take care of first.
I was going to ask that. Are you interested in the Crawford fight? Hypothetically, if he were still with Top Rank or it was still a way to make it, you wanted that directly after the Catterall fight?
Yeah, that's what Bob gave Josh a couple of options. Obviously with Josh's advisor as well, and the discussions were that he wanted to take that Terence Crawford fight. In an ideal world, you'd have a fight in between, get accustomed and acclimated to 147.
Crawford jumped straight up. No acclimation.
No, Crawford. He didn't, but he fought Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn wasn't, the best Terence 147. Crawford. Yeah, Terence Crawford is the best 147 fighter out there, but it's the type of guy that Josh is, and he's shown that throughout his career that he's willing to fight anybody and everybody.
I was so shocked. Top Rank showed Josh meeting Crawford. Bro, he's so big. How does he even make that weight?
He's just
he's a lot bigger than Crawford.
So everybody says it. Obviously, him and Devin, when Devin was like, he's huge, and Crawford was like, damn, he's big. Body frames, that's what I say, is a perfect 140, but the natural progression is obviously to move up and trying to become a two-weight world champion.
I'm sure as a student of the game, because you're one of the youngest trainers, but to get here you've had to study. What happened to the good old days where guys could just stay in the division and defend and be the man, like Ponce de Leon and Bernard Hopkins? They had a bunch of defenses and stood in their division most of their careers. Now we're seeing this jump up in weight. Not that Sugar Ray and others didn't do it in the past, but it seems more of a trend in this for this generation. What do you prefer?
I think it depends on the fighter. The reality is people don't want to hear it. Boxing is a business. Obviously, there's more world titles now, more sanctioning fees you have to pay, etc., etc., and it's mandatory after mandatory after mandatory. When it was a free belt, undisputed, obviously there's not as many sanctioning fees, not as many mandatories. So it does make the situation a little bit harder. However, I just think, like you say, it's become, oh well, so-and-so become a two-weight world champion, so-and-so become a three-weight world champion, that's something I'd like to achieve. So I just think, like I say, it's a natural progression.
So I know you, because you know, UK dudes, you two guys are too nice, even though some of your fans can be very brutal, but you didn't take offense to AJ going to another country looking for a trainer?
No, not at all.
But did you secretly want him to come to you? I think you're a great trainer.
Yeah, not secretly want him to come to me, and it's no, I wouldn't make any secret about it.
Oh wait, but damn, you were with Fury. It wouldn't make sense. Would you even accept that?
He's not fighting Fury. It's no secret. I want to see Anthony Joshua beat Alexander Usyk. Not because I've got anything against Usyk, but I just believe that
you want to help the UK.
To a degree, but more so than anything to do with the UK. This is my view on it. That Anthony Joshua, it was almost like I'd be critical. Not critical of him, but I always just felt like what happened against Andy Ruiz was going to happen with the style that he had. However, the adjustments that he made after that fight and the Pulev fight, I thought that's someone that's trusted in his team, committed himself to his craft, made huge progression to completely adapt. And it's not to say he needs to completely go away from anything that he's doing, but he's grown and learned and studied, and very impressed by that. But there was key principles that I could tell he didn't quite understand in the Usyk fight, and anybody that's committed to their craft and is willing to show their craft that much commitment and belief in their team and want to make those adjustments to completely change his style, I feel like he deserves, to win that fight, and he's shown that he can do it when people doubted him against Andy Ruiz in the rematch, and I'd like to see him do it this time. But I do think that Eddie Reynoso, I think that's not a good fit if that's where he goes.
Even with the cultural differences and language barrier?
I'm sure they've got enough money between them to afford a translator.
That still is like a bridge, it's still a mediator.
Boxing's body language. When you're in there, between you and your opponent, it's body language. If he can show, this is what I mean, this is what I want you to do, this is why I want you to do it, if you've got enough brain, you can see, oh, I understand why he wants me to do that. Or just watching someone
What about for Andy? I never liked that suggestion, because if I'm Andy, I went to you to help me get back to the AJ fight. Now you're bringing in AJ, I'll never get that fight.
Who's to say it's a long-term thing? Might just be for this Usyk fight, we don't know.
That's another question I want to ask. I heard you say, or it sounded like you would be willing to help him, but only as a one-time fight, or only if you're not fighting Fury?
One fight at a time. If he doesn't beat Usyk.
But if he beats Usyk, he's going to be so happy with you.
Then you have to reevaluate the situation. However, it's like what we're saying now about Devin. Oh, this, and this. First thing I said to him when I come in the gym, focus on Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz. No one else matters. Deal with whatever's next after. So,
was that something that was, I guess, touched on in the camp again, or reinforced, especially after Saturday?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The first day back in the gym, sat down, was wrapping his hands, and I focus on Jojo Diaz. And he was like, for sure. And then Eddie come out and said, I spoke to him straight after the fight, and the first thing Devin said was focused on Jojo Diaz.
What did you think of Malik Scott's performance as a trainer for Wilder in the Fury?
I think Malik Scott's got a good boxing brain. I think that I've got to be honest. I think that Deontay Wilder's best performance was in the first fight. His balance, his feet, his jab. I think his weight is a big factor in his performance. People criticise JD's just because he's fashionable, because he wasn't a world champion boxer. Doesn't mean shit. JD's a good coach. I know that for a fact. I studied Deontay Wilder. I know the terminology. I know what he's asking for. And the key thing that I always hear JD's mention to Deontay Wilder is good back foot. Stepping back foot first, which is key. Exactly how Kambosos landed his punch against Teofimo Lopez. JD's mentions that. That's what let Deontay Wilder down in the 2 other fights. Key. I only heard JD's mention that. I know that Deontay Wilder, Malik Scott would have been enforcing that as well. But I know that I always hear JD's mention that. And like I say, it's just fashionable to criticise him. But he's a great coach as well. But as is Malik Scott. As for Deontay Wilder, like I said, I think his best performance in terms of technically and tactically was in the first fight. However, in terms of spirit, desire, will, heart, chin, grit, determination, what both guys showed in that third fight is once in a generational type ability in those areas.
The internet, let's just leave it at that, likes to believe that Wilder would be done because he suffered these 2 very tough fights versus Tyson Fury. What's your opinion?
Rest is key after fights like that. Rest is key and will be a huge factor. After being stopped like that, hyperbaric therapy's a good way to go as well. And it's all about how he can recover. Like I said, he's shown what type of guy he is. Like, he always said, I want to go out on my shield, I want to go out on my shield. And he showed that. A lot of guys talk it and don't prove it. He proved it. Like, very, very impressive. And I hope he can come back from that. Great fighter. Still the most dangerous fighter out there. And I'd like to see that he can come back and whatever he wants to get out of boxing or life, I hope that he achieves it.
His former opponent, Luis Ortiz, and Joshua's first title shot, Charles Martin, now they're fighting in Florida, Hard Rock Casino. What do you think of that matchup? Because I feel like both fan bases are waiting for this one to say, look, my guy was better because his opponent won.
Yeah, Luis Ortiz is the better fighter. There's not much question about that.
You think he wins even at this age?
This is it. If he's still the same, yeah, he wins. It's taking nothing away from Charles Martin. I don't think Charles Martin done himself justice in the Anthony Joshua fight, and he's a better fighter than what was shown there. But it was also a good performance from AJ. So timing's key in boxing as well when the fights get made. So we'll have to see. It's an interesting matchup.
Last one. I know I'm boring you. I want to believe, because I believe that Jake Paul is good for boxing, I want him to win. But I know that obviously Fury has this pedigree. He comes from the Fury family. Tyson's allegedly helping him, and he's the real fighter, so to speak. But I'm drawn to Jake because he's really trying to be a fighter. Like, I've interviewed so many people that sparred him. They believe he really can fight, and then he uses his social media. Like, Teofimo lost. He talked about Teofimo. He's helping Amanda Serrano. He's using his platform to help boxing. And I know boxing is going to turn their back on him if Jake Paul loses to Tommy Fury. What is your thoughts on that fight, and what sort of a shot do you give him versus Tommy Fury?
I don't really know. I'm impressed with Jake Paul, got to be honest. I'm impressed. I think that something that boxers lack in an area, and he actually spoke about it at a press conference, was investing in themselves. And he invested in himself, and he makes sure that he's got the best team he believes around him in every possible way. to make sure that he gives himself the best chance in every area, whether he was mentioning about content creation, his boxing team, conditioning team, all these kind of areas, and it's true, and I think that's why he's made such progression, and it's an intriguing matchup. It is.
Too much? Did he bite off too much here?
That's what we're all going to tune in to try and find out. I'm not sure. You know, he would be gaining a lot of experience from each contest that he's having because it's on such a big platform, under so much pressure. He'll be making a lot of progression from each experience that he has like that.
What about comparing his opposition to Fury's? Similar, except Jake's are all debuters, but they're athletes in other sports. Do you hold any? Do you consider them quality opponents versus the first 10 fights that a prospect gets?
In the UK, it's a little bit different. You get more journeymen that are sort of there to do their job, and they know they're probably going to get beat, but they look to survive. And if you can get them out of there, then that's sort of a good performance. However, the guys at Jake's fought, they've sort of come to win. It's almost an embarrassment to get beat in their eyes. So they're coming to win. So it's 50-50, like in terms of the opponents that they've faced, in my opinion.
How much of Fury is Tommy?
What do you mean?
Like, how much of Tyson is in Tommy?
We don't know.
Or even Huey. Huey's pretty good on the back foot.
Yeah, the reality is. Oh, style-wise, different, very different.
No, not style-wise. I mean, like
the spirit.
The spirit and the skill.
This is it. You don't know that that's in someone until they have to show it. And Tommy hasn't had to show that yet. It's not to say he hasn't got it. He may have it. He may have it in even more abundance, but he hasn't had to show that yet, and so can't really say.
All right. Well, Ben, man, thank you for the time. 20 minutes. I do appreciate it.
For the video, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, Entitled, betting shows. The list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.